to introduce our guest speaker tonight, Deborah Green. Deborah is a big fan of birding festivals and has been to about 20 festivals around our country. She chairs the North Shore Birding Festival Committee for Orange Audubon Society. And she's going to be talking about the North Shore Birding Festival and other festivals. And a few of us are going to chime in on a couple of them. All right.
Thank you, Kathy. Okay, so North Shore Birding Festival and other festivals, the Bird Chat team. So first, how do you find out about birding festivals? One place is the American Birding Association, aba.org. Just go in their search field or under resources and get to the festival page. And these top ones are probably paid for the being featured, but below you'll see a list of them all in order of dates. And another really good place is All About Birds, Cornell's site that we all use so frequently. And as Susan has put together, what you do is just go down, toggle to the bottom of the page where it says birding festivals, and then click on that. And then you'll see the map of all the festivals and you can click on them to learn more. So if you're planning trips, if you can, and by any means combine them with a birding festival, why not? One thing about festivals is that they're a great place to buy optics. And Orange Audubon's North Shore Birding Festival does not have an exhibit hall like some of the big festivals, but we do have one particular vendor coming, Red Star Birding, who is a company that grew out of Birdwatchers Digest magazine. This is Wendy Clark, president of the company. And she was here last year with us, and someone else from Red Star will be with us with scopes and binoculars and selling them at a discount to us at our festival. Okay, I'm putting the order of these festivals by date. So fall. In the fall, we have the Florida Birding and Nature Festival, and I'm going to turn that over to Kathy to talk about.
Okay, so this is actually coming up very soon. It's going to be October 14th through 17th. And if you're local, you can still sign up for this one. I just checked the website today. This is put on by our sister Audubon, Tampa Audubon, on the west coast of Florida. They feature field trips, boat trips, Zoom seminars, keynotes, and a nature expo. Everything that they're doing will be either, will be outside or on Zoom. They're going to be held at a covered but open area at the manatee viewing area, which is, you can see the location there on the map. If you go back a slide, I've got some of the locations there, if possible. Yeah. All right. We'll get there. I can mention to you, there we go. So some of those spots that they'll go, these are great hot spots in the west coast of Florida. They're going to go to Fort DeSoto, Outback Key, Shell Key, Honeymoon Island, Celery Fields, Crossbar Ranch, Circle B Bar Ranch, Cockroach Bay, Althea Bank Sanctuary, Sawgrass Lake Park, and more. That's just a sampling. Their keynote is Craig Pittman on Friday. He's the author of Cattail, The Wild and Weird Battle to Save the Florida Panther. And Saturday, Birding, Birds, and Cameras with Clay Taylor. They have seminars including Gina and Adam Kent, who've been on our Bird Chat, very well-known birding experts in Florida. Gina's going to talk about swallowtail kites, and Adam Kent's going to talk about the Caracara. Some of the highlight birds you might see, depending on what trips you go on, migrant warblers, of course, this time of year, and shorebirds, scrub jays, burrowing owls, marble godwits, reddish egret, roseate spoonbills, peregrine falcons, merlins, and gold-billed terns, among others. There's lots of birds on that part of Florida. So if you have free time during October 14th to 17th, check out that festival.
Great, thanks to Kathy. And Paul, president of Tampa Audubon, is an old friend of mine. And they really are a sister chapter, so we hope you support them by checking it out. Okay, so now I'm starting to travel here, the Cape May Birding Festival. I'm not sure if you're aware of why Cape May's name comes up as a real birding hotspot. What it's all about is it's a peninsula, and there's about a 30-mile gap before you come to land again in Delaware. And what's happening is hawks and warblers and other birds are migrating south, and they hit the water and they hesitate. Particularly the hawks don't dare fly across because they need thermals to keep them aloft. So it's only really the juveniles that come down. The more experienced ones actually track and go around. So it's become a famous hawk watch, the Cape May Bird Observatory's hawk watch. And we had the chance to visit it just recently. I was impressed with the way the guy has an iPad and he's just recording sightings really fast. And other things about the Cape May is that they have two festivals, one going on same weekend as the one in Tampa, October 14th to 17th. And then they have a spring festival, May 19th to 22nd. And this is Higbee Beach, where you see the flight of the warblers in the fall. And this is Reed's Beach, where you see the shorebirds in the spring. And these are red knots in full breeding plumage. So anyway, Cape May is a place every birder needs to visit at least once. Then one of the top biggest festivals is the Rio Grande Valley Birding Festival in Texas, right down toward the border near Brownsville. And I had a chance to visit on the 25th anniversary. And so they have a big exhibit hall, and they have famous speakers like this is Richard Crossley. And they all go in buses, large buses, crack of dawn, take you out to the birding sites, and they're really good birds. A lot of similar birds to what we have in Florida, but some really beautiful places. So that's the Rio Grande Valley. Then I have not been to this one. I've been to Bosque del Apache, but they've got a great festival of the cranes when the sandhill cranes are there in migration. And at the same time, snow geese are very prominent at that time. All right, now going into winter and early spring festivals. Space Coast, and I'll let Kathy profile that.
Okay, so this is a very popular festival here in Florida, and it's on the east coast of Florida. So you get a different taste. And this one used to be in January, but they've now moved it to February 2nd to the 6th for next year. And they've changed the location to the Radisson Resort, Cape Canaveral. And that way you could, if you're from out of town, you could stay in the hotel where the expo hall and all the trips leave from, which makes it really nice. The keynotes this year are going to be Jeffrey Gordon, two of them, Jeffrey Gordon from the a well-known author. They have a lot of trips. They have pelagic trips that you can go on, and they usually run those at the beginning of the festival. So in case there's a bad weather day that they can, change it. They of course go to Merritt Island National Wildlife Refuge. They go to a lot of different hotspots in the area, and they have a huge exhibit hall. It's a great place to look at birding gear and also learn about other places you can go birding. There's just a lot of stuff there, and lots of different species show up there. Like you get the American avocets, and you'll get large groups of them there. Cinnamon teal, there's been a few that you've been showing up for the last few years, a beautiful bird, and lots of different ducks like American widgeons, pintails, gadwall, all those different things. The pelagics you could see would be like northern gannet. You got the mink shearwater, the Audubon shearwater, and others. Clapper rail is very possible there. They usually have lots of roseate spoonbills, American oyster catcher. And good place too for some of the sparrows, particularly like the salt marsh sparrow. And here on the bottom left, you can see they do a couple of trips to the landfill for gulls. If you want to learn about gulls, this is the place to go because it's like so many gulls, you can't even wrap your brain around it. It's a great festival, particularly if you live in Florida, you definitely should check it out. Because you'll see, and you can go to, this is a great time, like if there's places on the East Coast you've never explored, take one of the trips to a new place and you'll learn about that unique habitat. Okay.
And the exhibit hall is free. Okay, another real big one is the San Diego Birding Festival in February, and I have not been to that one yet. That's one of the few large ones I haven't, but I hear a lot about it, so you might check it out. All right, going on to spring and summer festivals. The biggest week in Ohio on Lake Erie, May 6th to 15th, was started by the Black Swamp Bird Observatory. And the purpose was to offset all the visitation on the McGee Marsh boardwalk, where the visitation is absolutely incredible when in warbler season, they're in mid-May. People are just drawn to it, and because you can see the warblers quite close. And there's a lot of guides floating around. I don't know if you can see this. Is I think Gabriel Lugo that we went to Puerto Rico with. The wild side guides are all around, and you've got your Mennonite birders here and everybody. So that's why the festival was created. And now I'm going to turn it over to Susan, who's just been up there recently, to tell a little more.
Okay, so as you can see by the slide, this kind of shows you where the McGee Marsh and this is located, and it's really up by farm country. They did put all in like the 70s, they established a lot of these wetlands to help kind of clean the water from the farmlands before it gets to the lake. But the lake is this big horizontal body of water. So warblers and anything migrating comes there and they kind of stop. So it has been a really good migrant trap. They get some excellent birding. If you really want to see lots of warblers, it's a great place to go. I put up in the right-hand corner is a little diagram of what it looks like, the boardwalk. They do have it very organized. It's got numbers. They will, before COVID, I'm going to have to say, because during COVID, they didn't do this, they don't want to encourage groups, but before COVID, they would tweet if something was seen at any of these numbers, and you could go to that number and see it, hopefully. But I'm going to have to say the crowds before COVID was very, very busy. So you might not be able to see it because there might be as many people as that initial slide. And they did this year still have the boardwalk open. They kind of waited to the last minute, but they did it by lottery. So I was lucky. My sister lives there and she was able to get in the lottery as soon as they opened it, and we were able to go. We did have, it was kind of limited, and because it was limited, it wasn't as busy as it usually is. The other thing they did do, if you look at this map, this kind of that narrow blue body of water is called the Crane Creek Estuary. And there's a trail that goes west that has always been open, but this year they did open a trail that ran on the other side of that body of water. So it was actually very good. So it's kind of a little bit wider than the boardwalk. It was nice. Another option that kind of gave you some of the great warblers. So I got my life for golden wing warbler on that trail that was open for the first time. So they were trying to decide if they're going to open it again, and hopefully they will do that. But it is a great, you can go to the next slide. It is a great place to see warblers. It's known for warblers, but I did put that pine siskin in because I got my lifer there for pine siskin. But they also have friendly owls. The biggest week also has some other locations that are really good too. Howard Marsh is excellent for waterbirds. Shorebirds come through, ducks, and you're going to see them in breeding plumage. So it's really nice. Maumee Bay State Park is where it has been centered. I mean, I think this past year was kind of an odd COVID year, so they didn't do it out of that, but they usually have it at that convention center. I think everything else was kind of Zoom, kind of related so that they could do the presentations that way and kind of keep everything spaced. I'm assuming by next year, I'm not going to make, I guess I shouldn't make assumptions, but by next year, I think things should be better and it'll kind of be somewhat back to normal. I think people are trying to get them to keep the one trail open. So that would be, it's a very exciting place to go. They have had a big storm, so if anybody has been there, it's going to look different. They lost a lot of big trees, and it's just going to be different from what you've seen before along the parking lot, especially because that faces that Lake Erie, and some of those winds kind of hit pretty hard. So next.
Thank you, Susan. Okay, now I'm going to switch down to Arizona and feature the Southwest Wings Birding Festival, which is way down here near the border, Sierra Vista. And I went to this a long time ago. It's the older festival of Arizona. And here I got to see the Lucy's warbler, which is the one that nests in a hole in cactus, and the trogon, elegant trogon, and various hummingbirds and many other species. It's a very nice, smaller festival. And it has both a spring fling, which is the one we went to, and a summer festival in August, Southwest Wings in Sierra Vista. All right, well, this is a very beloved festival of mine because the Great Salt Lake is just an incredible place. This enormous lake, right? And it's just smaller than the Great Lakes, right in the middle, surrounded by mountains. And birds like the white pelicans nest there. Here's the yellow-headed blackbird. Phalaropes, it's well known for a stopping place for phalaropes. And it's in mid-May. I've been twice over a number of years, and I really enjoyed the field trips. So most of them are in the wetlands, but there are also field trips that go up into the Deseret property. This is the Mormon Ranch, Deseret Ranch in Utah there. Is very well maintained. And you'll see golden eagles up in the hills and many, many other species that you wouldn't have on your list otherwise. And the older gentleman who always led them did pass away, but his son, Billy Fenimore, is continuing those trips. So I would really recommend checking out this festival. Okay, another famous one is the Acadia Birding Festival in Maine at Acadia National Park. And that's in June, early June. And I went to that once, and it was great. But I went on a field trip with a gentleman named Bob Duchesne, who was actually a congressman in his local area for a while. And he's a writer and amazing birder, one of my favorite birders. He's giving his talk here on birding by ear. And he took us to the Down East area and showed us all those birds, and then mentioned that there's another festival a week earlier, the Down East Birding Festival, Memorial Day weekend. And so I signed up for that one and really enjoyed it. And I went back again, maybe 10 years later. It's still really a lovely festival, small, but you go to great places. And look at how far north it is, right at near the border with Canada in this Cobscook Peninsula. And so I recommend Down East Birding Festival. Oh, and here's a picture of us out in one of the bog areas, which is, believe it or not, that's where the palm warbler, our palm warbler that winters with us, breeds. All right, moving along, we go to late summer festivals, and I'm turning this over to Kathy and Susan.
All right, so this, we just actually went to this one this year, and it is the Southeast Arizona Birding Festival in Tucson, Arizona. It's August 10th to the 14th in 2022. This is really a nice, lots of variety. Their landscape is from low kind of the desert with giant cactuses up, and you go through different habitats up to the tops of mountains. So there's all kinds of habitats, all kinds of different birds. It's close to the border, so you're getting some migrants from Mexico that we actually don't have anywhere else in the US. And this is us on a trip going through this one park with beautiful cactus. Next. So Patagonia is one of the areas, and if you've done any reading on birding, you've heard of Patagonia. And yes, in this lower left, this is the Patagonia picnic table where that came from, that term, the Patagonia picnic table effect, where people look for a rare bird, and I found more rare birds. Different types of things. The vermilion flycatchers are pretty much everywhere. We get excited to see one here, but down there you stop any park and they're flying all over the park. So it's really cool to have such beautiful birds. Everything's a little different than we have here. Phainopeplas, you'll see different places, just kind of the interesting blackbirds. Acorn woodpeckers, a lovely face. They just got a great look to them. You can see some of the different habitat, some big rocky cliffs, lots of swallows up there, lots of different sparrows. Next. And this one is, we have the brown thrasher, they have the curve-billed thrasher. We have the Florida scrub jay, they have the Mexican jay, and they have another one too, but they're Mexican jays, and they also have lesser goldfinch. We see goldfinch, they have lesser goldfinch. One of the rarer flycatchers is sulfur-bellied, so we were able to see that, and a black phoebe. So these are just some of the different types of birds, and and these aren't even the very rare birds, they're still all different. Next. Instead of having a house wren, they have a cactus wren. One of the flycatchers is a northern beardless tyrannelette. As you can see on the left, Kathy took that beautiful picture. And some of the unique sparrows they have, one of them is the botterized sparrow, and it'll be singing like a bouncing ball. And that one was kind of perching up, very hard to see, but he did pop up for us, so that was really nice. A black-throated sparrow is one of the ones. They do have a five-throated sparrow, but you do have to go out on a special field trip, and you have to do a little bit more work to see that. Black-headed grosbeak is one of the other ones that you saw. I think if we had one here in Florida, we'd be driving, I think people drove to the Panhandle to see it. So kind of exciting in that way. Next. All right, Kathy.
All right, so Arizona is known for the variety of hummingbirds. So to understand, this part of Arizona, southeast corner, is near to the border of Mexico. So birds come over, they don't worry about borders, and they have wonderful sanctuaries. So pictured in the bottom left is the Ash Canyon Sanctuary. We also went to the Patton Center for Hummingbirds, which is run by Tucson Audubon, which is one of our sister chapters. They're amazing. And you can just sit, and the feeders are numbered, and people say, what's at number 2? And you look, and it's mind-blowing. It really is. Anna's hummingbird is fairly common there. We saw lots of those. Some of the rare ones is the one at the top right is the beautiful Lucifer's hummingbird that we saw at Ash Canyon. At the Patton Center, we did see that amazing violet-crowned hummingbird, and the ones to the left are the broad-billed hummingbirds, but there's a lot of different ones. And if you love hummingbirds, you have to go to Arizona, because that's where you're going to see them. And you might wonder, well, oh my gosh, go in the beginning of August, you're going to die. No. We happen to hit a really good monsoon. So they have the monsoon season, which is, they call their second spring. They did get a lot of rain this year. That's why it looks so green. It's normally not that green, but we did actually have a day of rain, and but we still birded, and it was still fine. But honestly, when we were there, it was more comfortable than Florida for sure. Okay, next slide, please. And one of my favorite places was Mount Lemon, which it's about 9,000 feet. And so as you drive up, it's amazing because you go through all these different habitats. And we spent all day and we stopped at different levels. And so there's lots of warblers there. This red-faced warbler is known, it only if you see the map, it just breeds in a little bit of the United States. Other warblers we saw, were like the olive warbler and the hermit warbler. There's so many, and different vireos and flycatchers. And up the top right, that's the yellow-eyed junco, which was a really cool little bird that was fairly easy to find. And then, up higher in the mountains where it, it looks like Canada because there's fir trees and stuff like that. You had the pygmy nuthatch, you have mountain chickadee, zone-tailed hawk. It was amazing. So I highly recommend this festival. They did have a nice exhibit hall. The trips were well organized. They kept us very safe. They used vans. Everyone was vaccinated. So you can go to the next slide. But my recommendation is get on their email list so you can know when registration opens. I believe it opens around December, January for August, and the trips fill up very fast. So check it out.
Okay, thank you, Kath. And some of the festivals I've been to over the long period of time are no longer in existence, but those are some of our favorites. But obviously we have missed a lot that are available. So go to this site and check them out. And now I'll go to Orange Audubon Society's own 6-year-old festival, the North Shore Birding Festival. So it'll be December 2nd through 6th this year. And this is our business card for the festival we're passing out. We're featuring that it has 370 plus bird species recorded. And on the back of our business card, we have the ecotourism definition from the International Ecotourism Society, that it's responsible travel to natural areas that conserves the environment, sustains the well-being of the local people, and involves interpretation and education. So we try to strive to promote this kind of ecotourism definition. There was a time when there were some kind of schemes about, quote, ecotourism that we clearly saw would be damaging to the birds and to the enjoyment by the people. So we are promoting this kind of ecotourism, this definition. And the Lake Apopka North Shore is the top eBird hotspot in Florida. And here's the evidence. Here we compare it in number of species. And this is 352. The 370 feature comes from the work of Harry Robinson, who did surveys out there over a 20-year period. Those are not all recorded on eBird. And then, as you see, Fort DeSoto, St. Mark's, Gulf Island, Honeymoon Island, Merritt Island, Ball Point, Lake Apopka has more than all of those. And it is the easiest place to see Fulvous whistling ducks, probably in the United States. This is a duck that's moved up from Mexico and the more tropical areas. And it's a beautiful, very cool duck. And as you see, we use it in the logo for our festival. And this map shows locations where we have trips now. Most of the trips are in the Lake Apopka North Shore. That was the original intent of the festival, is to feature the North Shore, introduce the North Shore. And by the way, we have driving privileges all over where normally you would only be able to ride your bike or walk. But now we've branched out and we want to feature some other areas in Central Florida. So we got a trip to Esmeralda, Pine Meadows Conservation Area. We go on a boat trip to Mount Dora, the Rusty Anchor boat trip. We go over to Seminole Forest to see the scrub jays. And let's see, I'll talk about Wekiwa Springs, where we have several trips based. And then we go all the way up to Frank Rendon Park in Daytona Beach to see the Gulls, and we go over here to Orlando Wetlands Park. So we're branch out about an hour drive from this Lake Apopka area. But this is what we're featuring, this 20,000 acres that was once part of Lake Apopka. Then it was, canals were built and pumps pumped the water off what had been part of the lake, and they farmed it, but the farms polluted the lake over time. And finally, since the farmers weren't able to change their practices, the state was able to buy out the farms with a little federal help as well, and turn it into a restoration area. So it's not a park. It's not staffed as a park. Orange Audubon has chipped in and done a lot with getting grants to develop educational kiosks, and we have our ambassador program. So here's the wildlife drive, goes dun, 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 and it's on the eastern part. And I just do want to say, but there are many trails over on the western part, and that's what we feature in the festival. Here we are approaching the McDonald Canal, also called the North Shore Trailhead. And that's where we meet for the field trips, all the field trips that are going out there on the western part. And that's also where we rendezvous for lunch. And it used to be a little more even closely packed. We're trying to do COVID precautions now. And there are good birds right there in the McDonald Canal area. The wet swales host killdeer and Wilson snipe. And there's stuff to see even right there where you're meeting for your field trip. Bluebirds, there's some bluebird boxes there. And sparrows. There's an area, there's quite a few areas actually where we look for sparrows there. Grasshopper sparrow can be found. And these two winter sparrows, clay colored, well, they're all, grasshopper is a winter bird too here. It's not the Florida grasshopper sparrow, it's the regular grasshopper sparrow. The clay colored is a littler sparrow that's very pretty, and the white crowned sparrow. And if we're lucky, we see a bobcat. You probably have not be with a group to see one, but people do. You see raptors, like this very cool merlin with a little songbird. Sam Mitchum took this picture. And we do the birding by ear field trip, and we're gonna have several of those this year, right there at the McDonald Canal, because there's so many birds just in these grasses and forbs. And we have a good time with that. And then when you go through the gate, let's say here's the area where you were parking, and then you come through the gate that's normally locked, but we have access, come down these roads, and there's lots of birdie terrain. And some of it where it's wet, you have various ducks and waterfowl, and the black-necked stilts, they had a good season breeding with us, and most of them have gone south, but some every year we always find some, and that's a thrill. So there's this canal, the main canal that shunts the water actually downstream, which is north, the Apopka-Beauclair Canal, and it's a good birding spot. Here's the millennial strip. By the way, we really try to bring in younger participants by giving half price field trip fees for college students, and actually having a couple trips that are specifically trying to gather the young ones taught by younger leaders. So anyway, the bridge of the Apopka-Beauclair Canal is a good birding hotspot. And some of the birds that we see regularly in that area are the Leigh flycatcher and the ash-throated flycatcher, both Western birds, but they are regularly seen every winter. And then this far western part, southwestern part of the property is the Clay Island trailhead here. And you go in here to this lakeside tower, and that is where we go for sunrises. Excuse me, the angle to the lake, to the sun is perfect going there. And so we have sunrise trips each day of the festival, taught by photographers. And yeah, each year we've been increasing the number of photo trips as well as birding trips, and this year we have the most of all. And yeah, these good photographers like Leigh Folks will catch stuff like the tree swallows gathering. And the smooth-billed Ani and the groove-billed Anis were hits of the festival several years. First, it was the groove-billed Ani, and that's a southwestern bird, but it's been seen various times over the years. And then our friend Karen Hamblett found a smooth-billed Ani 2 years ago, and that is a South Florida bird that's got a very limited range, and it's very, very rare. So we were really excited to see that. And again, this is the map of the whole property, 20,000 acres, lots to explore. And one thing about it, though, is that the Lake Apopka Wildlife Drive is really excellent birding since Hurricane Irma. It was good before, but Hurricane Irma broke the levee that keeps the water out into the lake. And this water flowed this way, flooded Lust Road, the main road that comes up to the pump house. And the water just stayed on the fields. From then on, they had no means, the district had no means to pump it off, or motivation necessarily. It would have been expensive. And consequently, these have become excellent bird habitat for gallinules, purple gallinules, least bitterns. Least bitterns would be very rare at our festival. American bitterns and ducks. So because it has gotten so good, and just because it's a free, open place to go, the Lake Apopka Wildlife Drive has gotten very crowded. So kind of similarly to how the biggest week, the festival was to show people different places to go, our festival is showing people different places to go besides the Lake Apopka Wildlife Drive. You can always go to the Wildlife Drive on your own any Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. you can get in. You have to be off by 5 p.m. So that's something everybody can do, but we are showing you some other sites. And of course, we have the great leaders. The Green Mountain Trailhead is down here at the southwestern corner, and it goes up to the highest portion that overlooks Lake Apopka. And there's a tower, and it's pretty cool. And then a few miles up is the Ferndale Preserve. And this was all purchased through grant funding by the Green Mountain Scenic Byway effort. Our friend Greg Gensheimer and others spearheaded this. And of course, you have indigo buntings and painted buntings seen. And so again, all the locations are shown, and this is all on the website. And so we're touring all over and within about a 1 hour radius. And one place that Orange Audubon has always had a relationship with is the Orlando Wetlands Park. And so we have one trip there on Monday morning. And we also now are branching out to Merritt Island, and we have a couple trips Monday morning also. And this is our young field trip leader, Jeffrey Gammon. And just in is that we're going to have a Black Rails trip. That's a very popular trip at the Space Coast Birding Festival. And our leader, Craig Watson, who comes from South Carolina, works for U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. He has set this up with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service here at the St. John's National Wildlife Refuge. And that one's going to fill up quick. This is David Simpson. He's back with us this year for leading a couple trips. He won't be leading the Black Rail trip. Kathy and I were on that one right before COVID, and we got to hear it. It's a very elusive little rail that's threatened now. And then the final trip is the Gulls Trip with the wonderful Michael Brothers, one of the nation's Gulls expert. And this is before COVID. There will be fewer people, but it's quite a phenomenon, the gathering of the gulls on the beach in the afternoon in the winter. And the final thing I want to tell you about is that the reason we moved the festival to December was because we were able to get the youth camp at Wekiwa Springs State Park as a place to put up our trip leaders from out of town. And also certain of the cabins we are renting out, those would be mostly the youth cabins, which just have bunk beds and shared bathrooms. But you could check that out, and we're particularly promoting that to the students on scholarship. And it's just a fabulous park. If you don't know it, it's worth checking out. You can go with Kathy on her surveys, but we have several trips there, and we are going to have keynotes this year in the youth camp dining hall. We're getting them catered by 2 different restaurants, Friday night and Saturday night. I don't have those definite, but that'll all be posted for you. And our speakers are going to be Rainier Mungia, who is a wonderful photographer and world traveler and teacher, and Jeff Boughton, the Kawa rep, who is a raptor expert. He's going to be leading some trips during the festival. And so those are your 2 keynotes, and all this will be on the website very clearly. I was hoping that there would be a chance we could roll out registration in conjunction with this talk, but we just have a few more details to put together, but we are close. So how do you keep posted? Oh, and I forgot to say that because we're at Wekiwa, we could have birding by kayak on the Wekiwa River. And this is Brian Camerano, who gave the talk last week, actually, on the Seabird Islands. And Brian will be there at the festival. So if you want to ask him more, he'll be a leader. But being at Wekiwa, we were able to have night walks looking for owls. And last year we heard American woodcocks, which was a real thrill. Here's a picture of American woodcock from McGee Marsh. And so those trips are fun. And then we have the director of the Meal Bueller Planetarium, Derek Demeter, coming again to do a star talk. And that he does such a great job. So there's much to choose from. And because the trips are small due to COVID, 10 people or 12 people, in rare cases 16, they will fill up. So watch for registration at this website, North Shore Birding Festival. That'll give you the link to sign up for the mailing list, and the people on the mailing list will be first to know when it rolls out. And then there's also a Facebook page. You can just look for North Shore Birding Festival on Facebook, and it will also announce rollout there. So, and we hope to see you. It's Orange Audubon's festival. We're proud of these areas and love to show them off. And we have some wonderful leaders who are volunteering their time, and we have a lot of fun. Okay, any questions?
We had one that we didn't address. See if this is a good one for you, Deborah. How are the young birds able to handle the thermals around Cape May, but not the adults?
What they do is then they back up and go up the peninsula and come around.
The adults.
The young ones. The adults already know better, and they just don't go down the peninsula at all.
Very good. Any other questions?
All right, well, we'll be seeing you soon, I hope, at the festival. And again, these other festivals are wonderful. It's a really great way to learn birds and learn about the local areas. So I encourage you to check out the other ones as well. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.